Lack of understanding of what it takes to be a 21st century piano teacher is going to kill your career before it even started. If you're slogging away with some of the big no-nos that I'm going to be sharing with you today, you could be stopping yourself from attracting and retaining the ideal piano students that are going to stay with you for years. So watch until the end of this video for 23 tips and pieces of advice that will help you as an early stage piano teacher to ensure that your piano teaching practice is at the top of its game. The first one is a biggie, and it's really fundamentally important. It's this: don't just teach the way that you were taught. If I think back to my teaching in the 1980s, and don't get me wrong, I love my piano teacher, but piano pedagogy has moved on such a lot in the last 5 or 10 years. If I think what I must have missed out on back in the day, don't just teach the way that you were taught. Number 2, bear this in mind. We're not teaching the piano, actually. We're teaching music. We're teaching somebody to become a musician, because if people don't understand music, they can't make sense of it. How do they communicate it? Music is not just decoding a graph, decoding a score. It's the understanding of it. When you have a student that arrives at grade 8 and has no idea how to do the listening test because they don't understand how music works, we've let them down. We teach musicians first and foremost. One of the big differences in piano pedagogy for point number 3 is that you do not need to start your first piano lesson with a student by beginning at middle C. It's boring, and it's potentially actually going to cause problems for your student with technique. Tip number 4, get yourself a qualified mentor. This is not something that you need to be doing all by yourself. Find somebody who is qualified with perhaps a teaching diploma or a teaching degree, somebody that understands the intricacies and the specialisms of piano pedagogy. Number 5, think carefully about the method book that you use. Bear in mind, it might be that there are different method books for different students, but think very carefully about what this method book means to you. There are many method books that go back over decades that are not necessarily going to be doing the best job for your students. So do your research. Tip number 6, I literally want to scream from the rooftops. Exams are only the pinnacle. They are only an assessment in time. Exams are not a curriculum. You cannot possibly teach the piano by starting to work towards one exam, completing that, and then simply starting on the next exam along. That is not teaching. That is not a curriculum. That is a syllabus. Exams are just markers of certain achievements. Learning takes place apart from that. Point number 7, work on your own pianism. A good teacher should be modeling good practice, beautiful music making. If you're teaching pedaling, you need to be able to demonstrate it. You need to inspire. So work on your pianism. At the very least, make your own practice an important part of your professional development. Even better, get a really well-qualified piano teacher. Number 8 is very tricky, and this is something that you do watching other teachers teach, reading about piano pedagogy and teaching. Start to formulate and eventually write down your teaching philosophy. There are very, very many different teaching philosophies out there. As you grow as a teacher, you will begin to understand what makes you tick. And it's a great thing to be able to communicate that, especially to potential parents and students. Tip number 9, make sure you have your policies in place. For example, if a student misses a lesson, what's your cancellation policy? Are you going to accept that that's okay and make up the lesson? Or do you have a different kind of policy? A really good tip here, have a look at other teachers' websites. Just bear in mind, during my first year back to piano teaching, because I didn't have a policy, I lost literally 4 figures of income over a year. Point number 10, it really is our duty as piano educators to ensure that we provide a well-rounded education for our students. And that includes aspects such as improvisation and composition. If not, our students really are missing out. Number 11, Establish how you want to create a communication pathway for home learning. In other words, what are you going to use to communicate what you want the student to do at home? Will you perhaps use a notebook? Will you use WhatsApp communication with a parent? Would you perhaps use software such as My Music Staff? Tip number 12. Listen to music. Lots. Listen to music. Just lots. It's what we do. Point number 13. Join a community of like-minded professionals. I really recommend at this point the Curious Piano Teachers, a fabulous community of piano teachers from all over the world, but with the most wonderful access to resources and high quality, modern 21st century professional development that you simply cannot afford to be without. Tip number 14. Invest in professional development like the Piano Teachers Course UK, especially the foundation course for new and early career teachers. If we're to place what we do as a profession, then we owe it to our students and to ourselves to invest in that early professional development. Point number 15. Theory books are all very well and good, and they can be really useful for working through exercises and to help students to remember some of the information learned. But they cannot replace true understanding of music theory that is related to music and sound. How are you going to make music theory A, link to repertoire, and B, come alive? Next, sound before symbol. If all of piano teaching is about simply decoding a graph, what is on the page, without any understanding of the sound, if there is no exploration of sound, if there's no understanding of how music exists in sound and time, how can we possibly make it something beautiful and communicative? The internalization of sound, that true listening and understanding, perhaps you might use the term audiation, comes first. Number 17. Ensure that you have lots of activities away from the piano stool. You never want a child sitting on a piano stool for 30 minutes when you could be doing movement and chanting, reading games on the floor, rhythm activities, using different instruments, responding to listening by using the entire body, but things that are away from the piano stool. Tip number 18. It's an important one, and yet it's a tricky one. Observe other teachers. It's the first thing that you do. If you train to be a teacher in schools, you spend ages just watching, learning from that. So ask for the opportunity to watch other teachers teach online. Look for excellent examples of how to teach and take from that what works well for you. You're not going to like number 19, but believe me, it's one of the most powerful things that you can do. Get permission from the student and the parents and record yourself teaching and watch it back. What's really interesting is that often your perception of what's happened in that lesson may be slightly different. It's good to look at your own body language and the questioning that you have used and things like, did you talk too much? Tip number 20, make sure that you plan your lessons. It doesn't have to be in huge detail, although you might prefer to do that, certainly in the initial stages. But plan lessons that are organic. Think about what you want the student to learn, not just what comes next in the method book and how you're going to demonstrate to them how to do it. What musical concepts do you want them to understand? How can you provide them with deeper and broader opportunities to immerse themselves in these concepts so that ideally they're able to tackle these concepts entirely independently? Tip number 21. There are a huge number of pattern pieces, sometimes known as rote pieces, out there, particularly for beginners. These can be the most wonderful opportunity for students to feel that they can do a little bit more than their reading alone would allow. Pattern pieces can allow the development of musical memory and appreciation of the nuances of sound and dynamics. They can allow opportunities for improvisation and creativity. Tip number 22. Remember that technique, piano technique, and teaching technique is fundamentally important. If you're unsure where to find out more, check out some of the books by Penelope Roscoe, and also some of the teaching approaches and method books that have technique at their foundation, such as Piano Safari. And finally, our tip number 23, praise your students. Give them a sense of safety, but let them know when you appreciate them and you appreciate the efforts that they put in and the successes, however small they may be. Remember that relationships, good, positive, healthy, professional relationships, are everything in teaching. I'm wondering if any of these have surprised or shocked you. Please put in the comments anything that you think you want to act on next or anything that's just made you think. And hit the subscribe button.